Welcome back to the Mental Health Matchmaker, the podcast from Building Bridges Psychotherapy, where we sit down with therapists for candid, conversational episodes that explore their perspectives, experiences, and unique approach to therapy. In this very special episode, Justin the therapist steps into the host seat for a candid and thoughtful conversation with Ward 9 Councillor Martin Reid. Drawing from his background in social work, marriage and family counseling, frontline community support, and local leadership, Martin shares the experiences and values that influence his approach to service, connection, and care. Together, Justin and Martin explore everything from the reopening of BB's Mississauga location, the importance of community support, to psychological safety, emotional vocabulary, and entrepreneurship, faith-based perspectives, and the value of wraparound care in building healthier communities. Please note this episode briefly mentions the topic of intimate partner violence. We hope you enjoy the conversation. Let's get into it.
Welcome to Mental Health Matchmaker Podcast. I have taken over as the host. I am Justin the therapist, and the reason I took over is because we have a very special guest here today, Councillor Martin Reid. Woo!
Hey.
Yeah. I'm very excited to have you. Thank you so much for being here.
My pleasure, man.
Yeah.
I'm so excited to do this. So
I'm excited. This has been a long time coming.
Yep.
I also have to admit, this is your idea because you have great ideas. And it goes back to how we actually first connected. Even actually before we connected, I've been a follower of yours because I actually live in your not riding ward. That's right.
Yeah.
I live in your ward, and I was looking at the candidates, and I'm like, you know what? I think this guy's pretty cool. He's former therapist, and he's into athletics, and he seems to be very active in the in the city and in our ward. You know what? So I was happy to vote for him.
Thanks,
and
man.
then I saw you at MBOT, the Mississauga
Yes.
Board of Trade
You
event.
guys were winning an award.
Yeah, we
were nominated for
we were nominated for an award.
Yeah.
Didn't get nominated this time.
Yikes.
That's okay. It's okay. We forgive them. But no, yeah, it was about a year ago actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then I stopped you and I said, "Hey, you're my city councillor," and it was awesome.
Well, I was just stoked because you're a therapist. I was like, sweet, this guy knows we can talk shop all the time.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
Did I put that on my literature that I was a social worker or I had that background? I can't remember.
I think so. I checked your website. I didn't see it this time, but I think back then when you were running, you had it that you used to be a social worker. I think you studied at U of T, wasn't it?
Waterloo.
Oh, Waterloo. Sorry. Yes, and I remember reading that. I'm like, okay, someone who gets mental health. That's
Yes.
speaking my language. I love it.
It's funny. It wasn't the mental health piece I was putting out there. I was hoping that people would catch that you need to be able to listen in this job. Right? It doesn't matter what I know. I just need to be able to actually trust that, like, when you say something, I'm going to hear it and not just wait for a pause to jump all over you.
Right. Yeah.
So I thought that might be the connecting point because I didn't have a political background, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, well, maybe he'll be a good listener. Let's vote for him.
Yeah. It worked, which is great. I think that is so important. The idea of listening as a politician, because when I think of someone who is working in public service, it is a service to others.
Yes.
And to be able to serve effectively, I'd imagine you need to be able to hear what the people need. And
100%.
and I feel that from you. So that's amazing. And I'm sure we can think of examples of people that don't really listen to their constituents.
Right.
So thank you.
My pleasure.
That's awesome. So I'd love to hear your origin story, right?
Sure.
As therapists here in our practice, we always do this thing where we ask therapists who are joining the practice, what is their origin story? Because we think of, we're a little biased, but we think of therapists like superheroes because we're out saving the world in a way. So, you as this, therapist, politician, you're also kind of serving and making the world a better place, or making our corner of the world a better place.
Yep.
So what is your origin story? How'd you go from, Waterloo to where you are now?
Okay, so I was listening for where you wanted me to start my origin story from, right? Because there's so many different spots. So
right.
If we start from the Waterloo spot, I'd have to say that there was a sense of trying to understand what exactly, not even what I want to do, but who I want to become. You know what I mean? So I realized that I was always an encourager. I always liked helping people. And I thought like with the kind of an architecture or like urban planning, I can kind of help build and help people do that sort of thing physically. And then when I didn't get into either of those programs, the architecture or urban planning, I was like, what else do I like? And social work sounded good. I liked the community piece of it. And it wasn't my first year of social work at Waterloo. It was like, wow, this is vast. This is community work. This is casework. This is addictions. It just goes in so many different directions. I love the casework. I love the community action piece. And I used to read a lot on people who would do sit-ins and really creative ways of getting the message across and serving the community and stuff. So did that. And then I was playing football at Waterloo as well. And 3 years in, I really wasn't getting much playing time, any playing time. And I found a master's degree, MDiv in counseling, so master's of counseling and marriage and family therapy.
Nice. Yeah.
At Tyndale.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And that was just like, and that was it. And from when I got into there, it was like systems, like family systems theory, and that stuff really resonated with me. So I did that, got into, I started working at the Salvation Army Friendship Room downtown, working with the homeless there and working in that format, and then got a job in Mississauga at the dam, and it was that first real sense of understanding working upstream. So instead of working with homeless guys that have been like toughed out on the streets for 20 years, I'm working with young people who are still at home, precariously housed, couch surfing, making bad decisions or about to make a bad decision, and you could stop them before they end up there, right? So, and that was really the first iteration of the dam. The name was the dam because it was like stopping the flow of young people into the downtown core.
Interesting. That's where they got the name.
Yeah.
I always wondered like why they call themselves the dam.
Yes, exactly. So it's not that anymore, and there's so many things that happen in the social settings as well, but. It's develop, assist, and mentor now as an acronym. So they're creative with that and kind of flow with the times. But yeah, so in the social work world for a while. And then at the same time I was in social work, I was taking kids to the gym. And there's this one kid, Daniel Chasen, shout out Daniel if you're still out there somewhere in the world. So he would come with me to the gym. But he would be one of those kids who used to cause trouble in the drop-in all the time, just running around, throwing stuff. But he'd come, to workouts, and then I was like, okay, well, I can only do these workouts at like 8 o'clock in the morning. So if you're gonna do these, like, it's gotta be at my time. He's like, fine. So he's going to bed earlier to wake up for these workouts. And then he's like, how do I get a six-pack? Like, well, if you get a six-pack, you gotta stop drinking like Coke every day. So he stops doing that, and all of a sudden they're like, what happened to this Daniel kid? He's not acting out in drop-ins all the time. He's not, and having these good conversations. And I was like, I'm having better conversations with kids like over the bench press than in the counseling setting. So I'm like, well, I'll just get on this personal training thing because a friend of mine was doing it, and then I was like, I could fall back on my master's degree. Why not? 20 years later, that was 2002. I started Personal Victory. Yeah. So,
oh my goodness. So you started off with, football. And you aiming for architecture and urban planning, and then you got into social work, and then from social work you got into like therapy as a family therapist in Tyndale, and then from there you got into personal training.
Yes.
Wow. And then you did, so personal training, was that like the biggest chunk? Was that like 20 years of your?
Yeah, that was a big chunk in different capacities. And I was still always like looking at what's happening in the city. Like when they're rolling out like a diabetes strategy, it's like, great. Well, we need to make a difference in people's lives, and movement is a part of that formula. So what are you guys doing with that? And then George Floyd happened, and then we have this racial awakening, and then we're having these really hard conversations everywhere. And I started to go on, Instagram Live. I started to do these IG lives every day at, I believe it was 10 o'clock with the people in the Pilates space. Like I teach Pilates, I own a Pilates studio.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So with that, we're having these conversations every day about the intersection of race and fitness and Pilates and homelessness. And the city councilor for my area where I live in at the time was Pat Sato. And because of this, attention I was getting in terms of my social media, this podcast, and asking questions of the city already in terms of like their different initiatives, she thought it'd be good for me to be part of this. It was like the Mayor's Black Caucus, which was an advisory team to Mayor Bonnie Crombie at the time.
Nice. Yeah.
So I'm with Crombie in this group, and all of these men in this room, men and women in this room, are like uber successful Black people, like Black excellence, you know what I'm saying? Like finance, tech, like leaders of organizations, started organizations. And it was a very intimidating space. I kind of found my room in there, but one of the conversations they were always having was about civic engagement. Representation matters. There wasn't really a lot of, there's actually no Black people in those spaces. So they're like, you should run. And that was like literally, those words changed my life.
Change your life.
Right. Because as soon as I said you should run, I was like, I will.
Done.
I reached out to Pat Sato and I followed her. I was like, hey, can I follow you? What are you doing? That was 2 years before the election.
Wow.
You know, went to everywhere with her, seniors groups and road safety meetings and, you know, all these different things. You know, and then by the time it came to this time of year, we're getting ready for the election now. Like this time of year, it's like, okay, well, I put in my name in, and she was like, this is the guy I want to be my successor.
Wow.
Been following her around for like, you know, she couldn't shake me. I absolutely was following her around everywhere. And then, and I won by 273 votes.
Oh, wow.
So like it's a narrow margin, especially when there's a vacancy, because everyone wants to run and everyone's like, you can't beat an incumbent is the mindset. I hope that's true this time around too. And, but yeah, so because of that, like it was a Hazen McCallion's son and like Nicholas Rabo, the Rabo family, and Bob Delaney and Noka DeCrobe, and like there's some big dogs, really respected people. But yeah, like I think there's just an overarching message of mentoring that comes through there as well. Because it wasn't just when I feel like I'm just taking over your whole podcast.
No. This is so fascinating. I want to hear it all.
No, but like, there's a sense of like, okay, so that's fine. With Pat Sato asked her to follow me, so I could be like the best city councillor, do the job before you get the job. But when I got into Pilates, it was like, okay, well, I'm gonna train under Chris Robinson. He trained with Romana, who's trained by Joseph Pilates. So I found the best of the best in Pilates.
There you go.
And then when I was in fitness, I was like, well, I'm going to train with Peter Twist. He's a sport conditioning specialist. Basically invented that era of things. Like, I'm good friends with him too. So all the way along, I'm trying to find the best in business I can get my hands on, learn from them, follow them. And that's really my message for young people, because it's a pretty solid formula.
Right. Is find the experts, find those that have succeeded, those that know what they're doing. And then learn from them, and then emulate, build on it. Yeah, that's a great message for the young people.
Thanks, man. I got that vibe from you too, man. Like from day one. Like, so when I saw that you're doing this and opening this massive space and have this army of counselors behind you, I was like, all right, this guy's got it, man.
No, it's a lot of great things have come from tragedy. A lot of opportunities came from some bad situations, and it's just been. I felt like very much a passenger in a lot of these situations, and just kind of taking whatever opportunities come. But, you know, on the topic of learning from the masters, I feel very grateful that I went to a really nice program where I got to learn from some amazing clinical supervisors. Not all of them were amazing, but most of them are pretty good. I'm still in touch with them, and
you still learn from the underwhelming ones too.
Yeah, you learn what not to do, right? When you're abused and you're criticized intensely, you learn, okay, you know what, this crushes a pupil. Don't do that when you're teaching other people as well. So I've been very grateful to learn from some wonderful people, and learn, like on the topic of therapy, learned a lot from my own therapist, who's also in Mississauga. He I saw him for like a decade, and he changed my life for the better. So, I as you're talking, I'm reflecting, and I'm very grateful for the people that I got to learn from too.
Absolutely.
And, grateful that we have what we have now. Yeah. Yes. And grateful to you, because we had this big event in October, our grand reopening type of thing.
Yes.
And you were actually the one who gave me the idea to do this big opening.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, yeah. Because
it was epic too. That was a really good event.
Yeah. Okay. Good. Yeah. I mean, I don't have much of a comparison point, so I don't know how good it was. But I thought it went well, and it was amazing to have you there. But yeah, we had this big grand opening. We had yourself, and you had a handful of other political dignitaries, and it was open to the public and all of that. That was actually inspired because at MBOT, I think after MBOT, we connected on social media, and you said, hey, I see that you got a bigger space. When are you doing a grand opening? And then I'm like, you know what? maybe I should do a grand opening, right? I'm like,
Yeah.
we'll invite Councillor Reid, we'll invite some others as well.
Natalie Hart was there. Councillor Kovac was there.
Yeah.
An MP, a couple MP.
Yeah,
you had some big dogs.
Yeah,
man.
we had 2 MPPs
Yeah,
and an MP.
yeah.
MP Faris El Soud,
Yeah.
who's Palestinian and
Great
doing
guy.
some
Young
amazing
guy.
guy.
Fire, man.
Yeah,
He's solid.
he was great, and we had some wonderful MPPs as well. It was because because I knew that you would be interested in coming and celebrating the grand reopening of this building. I was like, okay, I gotta make it nice. So we hired a company to renovate. CTK Customs, check them out; they're awesome.
Yeah.
We had across the street the restaurant catered and everything.
So DJ from the Blue Jays.
Oh yeah, DJ from the Blue Jays. Oh man, yeah, she's fantastic.
So
DJ
cool.
Flavia.
Yes, Flavia.
Yeah, she's wonderful. Also we went to high school together in Mississauga.
Okay.
So she's wonderful, but I think she's in Oakville. But yeah, it was great. So thank you for inspiring me to make a big deal in October of our 5-year anniversary and also the grand reopening of the building. It was a big success.
Yeah, it's it's important that we celebrate stuff.
Yeah.
I think it's important. It's good to. It also spoke volumes to me that like you celebrate in that way, and your clients come out. Like a lot of times, people want to stay in the shadows. They don't want to be like, well, I'm his. Like when someone says that, like they're confident in the work that you're doing. They're confident in who you are, and they believe in this work and this practice. Yeah. That speaks volumes. The other thing I was going to say on the grand opening was, I really believe like one of my campaign things was support, amplify, and connect. Right. So I didn't make campaign promises. I wasn't like, I'm going to like cut your taxes in half. I was like, no, I'm going to actually support, amplify, and connect. Support like our nonprofit organizations, our businesses. We're going to amplify the work that they do, because a lot of times people don't even know they exist. And we're going to connect you to those services. Right. So I saw your grand opening as an opportunity to amplify what you're doing. Because I was like, hey, this cool guy, he lives in he lives in my ward, so I'm going to support my people. And 2, he's got a pretty special thing happening, so amplify it. So you invite, I'm there, that's great. And then Kovac showed up, like, awesome, it's his ward. Yeah. Natalie came for just because it was in our schedule. Like, that looks like something I want to support. So you've amplified it. Yeah. It goes on their socials. People see what you're doing, and that's like, for me, that's like mission accomplished, right? So amazing. I love that. That absolutely. Thank you. I live for that stuff, man. Yeah. Thank you. Huge thank you to you. Huge thank you to Kovac and Natalie for showing up. It meant a lot to see our representatives supporting our business and understanding that we're trying to support everyone. We're trying to support the constituents. We're trying to support everyone's mental health. So it honestly, like, it meant a lot to have you all there. It was really special and nice to connect with you guys. There's that human connection, which is so important, right? Tie it together, man. Right? We're tying it all together, right? Is this idea that, like, if you are a nice human being, yes, and you're able to carry a conversation and you show that kindness and empathy, and even in a brief conversation, it goes such a long way. Kindness wins the day, right? Man. Kindness wins the day. That connection wins over everything. Yep. And I don't mean to steer it into a different direction, but just on something that's coming up a lot is AI and how it's replacing human connection. Right. And I'm getting offered all the time, like, why don't you just use AI to replace your entire admin team? Have like these AI receptionists that are on the phone and seem human, and I'm like, no, never, never, right? Because the human connection is so important. Right. So, anyways, we're going into a tangent, but the human touch and the kindness. I mean, like, those are the things, right? And how do I get this mindset into all of our residents to be kind? Yeah. Yeah. How do I get into the mindset to think about community safety and well-being, like the well-being of their community? Yeah. I'll give you an example of something that happened yesterday, and it was a bad situation, but even today at council, I chose to highlight the good that came out of it. Right. One of the schools in Ward 9 had some vandalism. Right. And I got an email first thing in the morning. And then before I got the email, my staff sent me text message to say, like, it was really, really bad. Right. To the point that the hate crime unit from the police came. So they came out, and then by the time I got to the school, police were out there. They had taped off one side of the building. They had some contractors come in, and they were just doing a little test to see if they could get all the paint off, because there was literally like sentences. Oh, wow. And there was like paint on the wall, on the sidewalk, the south side and the west side of the building. So it was ugly. But by the time I talked to the police, and they were really like, they were kind of escorting people around to the other side of the building to go in. Security for the city was there, and they were on the plate location too, and they were helping out. These contractors were there. I went inside, talked to the administrators at the school, and we talked to our students about it, and we're following the protocol.
Yeah.
I went inside. The facility manager for the Aaron Meadows Community Center was there, and he had already been outside and done a walkthrough. And then we went, did the seniors event. Stephen and I did the seniors event, did our thing, talked to people, played some ping pong, got my butt kicked by these seniors at ping pong. Just on a side note, these Chinese seniors are
veterans,
drip sweating playing these guys. And then by the time I got out, all the vandalism was gone.
Oh, wow.
They had already, like the hate crime unit had been on scene. They did their investigation. They, they're doing all these different things. So today when I went to council, I just said, like, I just want to thank the security and everyone I just mentioned a minute ago, because it was all hands on deck. Yeah. It was there was no kind of like friction between the school and the police, and like all those narratives that we see out in the rest of the world, they're all there. Right. So I just highlighted the fact that all of these teams came together because community safety was the most important thing, and it was psychological safety.
Right. Yes.
There's a difference if that stayed up all day, and then people would be like, "Well, I'm from this community. I'm not going to bring my kids to school anymore." Yeah. It was gone. Like by the time it hit social media, it was already erased.
Oh wow, that's amazing.
It was like all hands on deck to make sure that our community is safe, and that's a community safety piece. And I'm like, I just appreciate that, and I was out of the gate first on social media to set the ethos, to set the culture, to say like, this is not tolerated. Yeah. I know it's happening. Everyone's all hands on deck, and we're dealing with it, and it gives people a sense of peace. Yeah,
that's amazing.
Yeah,
that's so important, because I think psychological safety is just as important as physical safety, because psychological safety, a lack thereof, can cause such tremendous harm, and also lack of psychological safety can lead to actual aggression. So it's amazing that so many different groups in the city came together, worked efficiently, collaborated together. I don't always see that everywhere in various different cities and districts. What do you think is unique about Mississauga that we are such a great community that can come together for the sake of something like safety?
Yeah, no, the city is very good at that. I think that within Ward 9, without diminishing the work that's happening in the other wards, I can just speak to my ward. Yeah, I think the police also see how much energy I put into safety. And I affirm them at every opportunity. If anything happens in my community, I'm there. Yeah. I'm proactively doing town halls and, calling the police. Like, while this whole situation was going on, I was texting the chief of police and his deputies and saying, hey, this happened today. 6 different entities were on board, and we got this finished before lunch hour. This is amazing. So I think that there's a sense of reciprocating that level of energy. It's like a marriage, right? Like if I'm giving this much, and you say, okay, well, I'm going to at least give that much in return. Yeah. So I feel like that in the community. Yeah. They're seeing how much energy I'm putting in, so they really double down. Okay, let's solve this case. So let's get some communication out there really quickly, or whatever it is. So they say I care, they care, and they do care. So I think that they're upping their game because they see that I'm upping my game.
Yeah, right? Exactly. Exactly. I love that. It's like, if you actually care and you're at the top, then the other people who are working with you are more likely to care as well.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And I've seen in my neighborhoods how there's people who have had despair, who've tried so hard in the past, and now they see that, like, I've come in, and they're like, okay, well, let's do a barbecue. Okay, let's do these things. And they're like, well, I did that 10 years ago and no one showed up, or I did that 5 years ago and these people tried to get all the credit for it. And it's but now you have someone else who's going to be your champion, who's standing behind you, like your grand opening. Right, like, you have someone behind you. Yeah. Like, if you just said, I'm going to open the doors, like, well, no one's going to show up. So I think that, like, just affirming those small steps when you see that people want to do certain things, like just being their champion, like, it just helps them to become the next champion for someone else too, right?
Yeah. Caring. I love that. Being champion for people. And that seems like that's been part of your story since, as early as I know about your story.
Yes.
Is like, you cared, and you were surrounding yourself with people who clearly cared about what they were doing and cared about helping other people. Yep. Caring. Love is the answer.
Love is the answer. Shout out to Jason Falconer and his brand Spread Love.
Okay.
I'm always like wearing his gear just for no reason. I just like, I think it's just a cool gear. Like, yeah. And for the record, I buy it. It's not gifted to me.
No handouts.
No handouts, man. I just want to just make sure that I'm invested in his business. But
Spread love.
Spread love.
Yeah, I completely agree.
Yeah.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So I'm curious about something in your past, just because we have therapists here who went to Tyndale. Okay. And it sounds like you went to Tyndale about maybe 20 years ago or so.
Yeah. Yep.
What was it like back then for you?
They just switched over from Ontario Theological Seminary to Tyndale, so they were just on the end of a rebrand.
Yeah.
So I think they were trying to broaden their reach and kind of not make it sound so churchy.
Yeah.
It's still faith-based, and they do a great job with that, and everyone I learned from had that faith base, but I think they wanted to kind of broaden their conversation and pay homage to William Tyndale as well, right? So
nice.
William Tyndale. Anyway, we'll look that up after.
Sure.
Fact check that after this. So that being said, my master's, there's people who are looking at it from a counseling perspective, and then there's people who are looking to become a pastor or be an evangelist or be a missionary and all those different things. But I think for me, I did my undergrad from a secular perspective, and then I wanted to get a kind of a faith-based, a faith-informed approach to my counseling at that point, just to kind of marry the two, because I never really saw myself working in a church. A lot of people did, and I never felt like that was my thing where I want to be in a church. But I wanted to have different perspectives on truth.
Right.
Different perspectives on help, love, all those different elements, and help that to kind of craft how I look at the world and how I help people. So that was my perspective coming at it.
Yeah. No, that's amazing. That's amazing. I agree. I think that for a lot of people, faith is very important to them, and getting a faith-informed perspective on therapy and mental health can be very beneficial for a lot of people. And I think here in Mississauga, I think a lot of people have faith, some sort of faith. Yeah. And spirituality is important to them. And some, it's not important at all. And that's obviously perfectly fine as well.
That's a faith too.
That's a faith too, right? Is that there is nothing.
Right.
Yeah. No, that's amazing.
Right. And so within that's a great segue into my Faith Leaders Action Group. So there's one of the groups that I have kind of started within the Ward 9 area organically began as one of the churches started to ask questions about homelessness. And they're like, is there homelessness in Meadowvale? Because it's not downtown Toronto. Is there homelessness? Yeah. Homelessness in hiding, as you'd say. Yeah. And I was like, yes, absolutely. And let's actually bring in the Region Appeal that is serving the homeless and their street outreach programs and stuff. So I asked them to drill down on their stats that they already had. Give me like Meadowvale Ward 9 stats, and we'll have a meeting. And I invited all of the faith community, which is in the Ward 9 area, in Meadowvale and Central Air Mills, in the Meadowvale Business Park area. And and we had 20 plus show up for the first meeting. Nice. We had a different 20 plus show up for the second meeting. Oh, wow. Like, it was pretty cool to see that. Yeah. And then it's grown from there. We've done them like once a quarter, where we talk about like homelessness, food insecurity, poverty, Ontario Works, even human trafficking, mental health is the last one we did, which was the best one yet. And the next one in May is yet again going to be mental health, almost like part 2.
Okay,
that's an interesting conversation. I think we might have talked about that, and just the stereotypes of like the Black community and the Asian communities and the. But that being said, the whole point of those meetings was to say, the faith community has something to contribute. Yeah, they're not just here just to proselytize. They're not just here to get congregation members for their churches. So when they do a backpack drive or a food drive or a food pantry or whatever, this because they want to actually love on and help the people of Mississauga. It's not just because they're trying to just pad their numbers.
Exactly.
So having a faith background, that allows me to understand where they're coming from and to hold space for them and to defend them in those spaces when, if I have the Muslim community and the Buddhist community in the same room, that they're not just there because they're trying to get people for their churches. They're actually there because they together want to help the city.
Exactly. Yeah. And I think that regardless of the faith, whether Buddhist or Muslim or Christian or anything like that, what I understand is that the true expression of all of those faiths is helping people who are in need. Yes. And that's the beauty of all the religions, I find. Absolutely. And so it's so heartening to hear that all of these religious leaders came together and were like, we as a community of specific faith genuinely want to help those who are struggling.
In the second half of this candid conversation, Justin and Martin explore psychological safety and emotional vocabulary, and why being able to name what we feel matters in how we relate to others.
Okay, so I mean, like with the psychological safety, when we mentioned it earlier about like the safety in the schools, and I know you and I understand what psychological safety means, but I wonder if like our men know what psychological safety means.
Yeah.
Like we see the manifestation of it, but like, can you like kind of just define it so people can just in layman's terms, so people recognize what that is?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think safety is a concept that is easy to grasp in terms of physical safety, because it's like I'm safe in an environment when I know no one's going to punch me in the face, but if I enter a room where there's some, aggressive people, I might get punched in the face, or could be a lion or a tiger, whatever, right? In terms of psychological safety, you're replacing the physical danger with psychological danger. And I think that's where we lose some people. And the idea here is that instead of being worried about getting physically attacked, it's worried about getting maybe psychologically attacked. Maybe it could be with insults. Maybe it could be with discrimination. Maybe it could be with belittling. So psychological safety is just as important as physical safety. And I think that it's important to have the psychological safety in our everyday spaces in our communities, whether it's in your school, not being worried about being attacked or discriminated against for your identity, whether a visible identity, whether an invisible identity, like your faith or your religion. Visible identity could obviously be the color of your skin or the way you look, your ethnicity. So yeah, it's important in a school, it's important in a workplace, it's important in shared spaces in the communities to feel like you have that psychological safety.
Yep.
And I think that also translates into the home as well.
Okay.
And I think we as men have a responsibility as, often the more physically powerful gender, to make sure that we treat those around us with safety, creating safe spaces. And I know that there's a lot of criticism around that term in kind of the male gendered spaces and discussions about like, oh, safe space, that's for, weak people. And that's kind of a stigmatized term these days. But I think it's very important. It's important to make sure that even if you're not a man, just people who are leaders, people who have power over others, it's so important for us to create safety for those who work for us or who have less power over us. So,
I mean, because we talk about like what mental health looks like in our neighborhoods, like in our ward, and the people that I see, the men that I see, the young men I see, I think that there's a psychological safety element to it where they feel threatened in some way. They don't have a vocabulary around it, and that's why it manifests. So that's why I was asking about that, because I'm like, okay, what does that really look like when a rubber hits the road, when we see it out in our neighborhoods and our communities, right? So
it makes a lot of sense. I think that a lot of men, when you feel a lack of psychological safety without even recognizing that that's what it is, without having the label, might manifest in, well, I'm going to retaliate against danger. And that might mean I'm going to fight back. I'm going to be aggressive. I might, maybe do some vandalism, maybe be...
intimate partner violence.
Yeah, intimate partner violence. So it is so important in our work to educate people on the vocabulary for one's own emotions.
Yes.
And also how to express emotion in a way that is safe for others and that is conducive to the goals that you're trying to achieve.
Yep.
So if I'm feeling frustrated in my relationship, instead of me lashing out with physical harm or with verbal harm, I am taught by my therapist to express my feelings in a not necessarily an aggressive way, but maybe an assertive way, where it's like, hey, what you are doing is really upsetting me. What you have said has really hurt my feelings. I'm feeling unheard. I'm feeling like my needs are not being met.
Yes.
Here's what I need from you, as opposed to fighting and being violent.
Right.
Yeah.
So I had this like flashback of so many interactions I have with people in the neighborhood when they're mad about something. And when I was following Pat Sato around, there would be someone that was like really, really mad at her about something. And she would say, oh, that's a person, they're really passionate about this.
Right.
She didn't say, that's a person that's really mad at me.
Right.
And I was like, got it. Because every time someone comes at me really hard and they're like, I'm really disappointed with this, or I hate this. And then there's all you politicians, or like they start all this stuff. I'm like, you just don't like bike lanes. Like, you don't hate me. You just don't like bike lanes. You really don't like bike lanes.
Aquitaine,
Right. Yeah. It's just like, it's a touchy subject.
Yeah.
But I mean, I get that's, so I've recognized that when people are lashing out, or that place of not feeling psychologically safe, and they just don't have no words and all those different things. It comes out in a certain way. And then I have to absorb that, recognize what they're doing, and then kind of just de-escalate it. And then, and yeah, I see that. So, I mean, so that's one piece of it. And I think that was the piece I was looking for. I was like, that's it. That is exactly.
Yeah. Emotional vocabulary. And I think also self-regulation.
Yes.
And the ability to express emotions in a way that is effective and that can lead to achieving one's goals and working together as opposed to tearing each other down.
Yes.
So such important skills. And these are things that people don't necessarily think about when they think about therapy. They think I'm depressed or I'm anxious or, you know, I have OCD or something like that. But actually, a lot of the work we do is helping people with their own emotions and with their communication, with their relationships, including with their representatives.
Thank you. I'll give you like a referral fee.
Yeah.
So like, but like emotional vocabulary is a piece, right?
Yeah.
So it's interesting too at council. One of the things that I was reading about that's coming to council tomorrow is a document around intimate partner violence. And how the federal government is supporting the region and some of the initiatives that we're doing. And there was a block in there that was talking about boys and men's health strategy. And that is a really fascinating piece for me because I'm like, okay, we're talking about like, you know, intimate partner violence and how do we support women and, you know, and the social justice and making sure that we're trauma informed. But what about the men? But what about the boys?
Right.
You know what I mean? How do we make sure that they have a vocabulary?
Right.
And all those different things, right? So I was really inspired by that. And I'm going to bring it up tomorrow again because I want to champion that work. There's money federally that's coming down to support organizations that are doing this work. Once again, that support, amplify, and connect. There's some small like 2-person organization somewhere that's been saying this for 15 years. That's probably like finally gonna get their moment in the sun. So how do we champion them and how do we help them get out and connect with more men, more boys, and just give them a vocabulary? Because these children who are coming out of these families where they've seen their dad beat their mom, that's their only language right now.
Yeah, exactly. You hit the nail on the head there. I completely agree. We learn from our examples. And so I think it's so important to support the victims, but also like you keep saying is we need to focus on the upstream stuff, prevention. And how do we educate and train and raise boys and men so that this isn't even an issue in the first place?
Right.
And I think a part of it, is of course, helping them learn different examples, helping them learn different ways of responding to conflict, different ways of dealing with frustration, helping them become more in touch with their own feelings in the first place. And of course, guiding them in their own journeys. And I think we can give them some information once, but I think it's that mentorship piece, which is so important. Looking up to people you can look up to and say, you know what? Yes, maybe I saw my dad beat my mom, but I actually want to be like this other man that I look up to.
Yes.
So yeah, it's very important.
Yeah, that is like one of my biggest takeaways from my days working at the dam is that like every young person needs another adult in their life besides their parents.
Right. Yeah.
Right. So, and that was one of those things where, okay, I'm really trying to be intentional with that element because I feel like it's much needed.
Yeah, absolutely.
And like the psychology piece and the mental health piece is one thing, but then just having a friend, and having like a trusted adult is I guess
it's so
the
important.
organic work, right?
Absolutely, because I think as you grow up, you learn that your parents aren't perfect. Yep. You grow frustrated with them in one way or another, whether warranted or not, and you need different adults to look up to. I really do go back to the idea that it requires a village to raise someone. Yeah. And no, it's great. Here we are in Mississauga, Meadowvale. Yep. Ward 9. It requires a village.
It does. Yeah. And I think that we can do that within Meadowvale more so than other areas because it is already like a very, like from an urban planning perspective, a very master planned community. Yeah. And that lends to community by the fact that it's dense in some areas. And then you have like $2 million homes in some other areas. And then you have like all these different things, right? So everyone's kind of this space of where there's a diversity in terms of like economic income and, diversity of cultures and all those different things. So we can do it well in Meadowvale and work concentrically out from there.
Yeah, that'd be amazing. Changing the world.
Right.
Starting at Meadowvale.
Right. Yeah. Well, it's the same thing you're doing here, right? Like in reality, if you're changing the world of one person who goes back to their family and that impacts their family, you're changing the world.
Yeah, exactly. I love to think of it of like, imagine if some of the world leaders that are maybe causing lots of harm in the world right now. What if we worked at it in an upstream way?
Yes.
What if they got therapy when they were younger? right?
Right,
What if
yeah.
they had better mentors when they were younger?
Right.
And how different the world would be. So when we work with clients, we're always keeping in mind that, you know, it's just one person in the room, maybe two, maybe three if we're doing couple or family therapy, but we are potentially impacting thousands of people around
Yes.
that person.
Right.
Right. Even working with kids, it's like this person is maybe one day going to have a life partner. Maybe they're going to be a manager or have a business. Maybe they're going to be, you know, in public service or something like that. So it really impact lots of people down the road. So we were talking a little bit about entrepreneurs
Yes.
and how it's so important to support entrepreneurs, to empower them to be able to maybe start something so that they can make the leap and build something that can support themselves and maybe even create jobs and,
Right.
you know, do something that aligns with their values.
Yeah.
I think a lot of entrepreneurs don't know about the support that's available here in Mississauga.
They
So
don't.
yeah. Tell me about what we've got.
Honestly, yeah, they don't. Because I mean, and you're running a business, so you can give your advice, right?
Sure,
But I mean, that's
yeah.
like, well, why don't you just outsource that to someone else, right? So Mississauga has an economic development office, and in Square One, we're close to Square One right now. Literally, a stone throws away, if you can throw a stone that far. And they have this a place called Idea, and it's like a shared workspace where you can kind of just rent a desk, rent an office, all those different things. But then they also have programs, and they have a summer starter program. They do programs for young people. They have startup programs, scale up programs. You know, they have mentors, and then they do things like what's it called? A pitch competition if you have an idea and it's at a certain point. So I think that it's really good. And the reason why I really lean into a lot of the work that they do is because I've seen that in my neighborhoods when I'm knocking doors, I'm canvassing, and then someone opens their door and they have like a cupcake business where they're doing baking and then they're doing bake shows on the weekend, or they're making bracelets, or some guy has like, this is a pet story. This one guy had a bracelet like on his ankle, like he's on like house arrest.
Okay.
But he had a legit like logistics business. So he was working from home, but he couldn't actually leave his home because he's on house arrest. I'm like,
That's
all right.
ironic.
Yeah,
All
right.
right.
So it's like
Yeah,
works. You know, that's fine, man.
Yeah.
But that being said, this idea program is a thing that I thought was fascinating because now if you have an idea, a lot of times people just keep their business like a side hustle.
Yeah.
And so for me, I'm like, how do we turn side hustle into a scalable, sellable business?
Right.
So that's where I refer them to Idea so that they can start signing up for these programs, register their business, register their tax number, meet with mentors, all those different things. So I think that program is great, and I just refer everyone to it. And, you know, for people who come in and they have an idea, just like give them the phone number for Idea, and there you go. Like,
That's amazing.
yeah, maybe we'll set you up so we have a conversation with them as well. It's
I'd
just you
love
can
to.
meet Donna and Ali are the two managers in there.
Nice.
And we've done some great work connecting them with Black entrepreneurship organizations, the BEA, the Black Founders Network, Nobellum. And so there's groups that do startups and really like inspire different communities to in their, like whether it's a tech startup or if it's a small business of some sort. And
That's amazing. That's super helpful. I wish I knew about them back when I started this business. I think it would have helped. But but you know, I work with so many clients that have great ideas and have the interest in building a business.
Right.
Maybe they're dissatisfied with their current job, and they just don't know about starting a business and what are the important steps, and they don't know about the supports available. So this is really good. And it's literally called Idea, so it's easy to remember.
Yeah, and the funny thing about that too is if you think about what help you provide for someone to come in here, we call those wraparound services. But we never think to add entrepreneurship to those wraparound services.
Right, yeah.
Because if we're working upstream with a person, yes, they need someone in addiction, so they need someone with food security, or they need someone who can help them with their income supports. But then you also need someone who could help them if they have any business ideas to stand themselves up economically.
Right. Yeah.
That should be part of someone's wraparound,
Should be there too, right?
It should be there too.
Yeah. Supporting business.
Yeah.
It's very important work. And I agree. It's it is holistic in terms of the upstream mentality that we keep coming back to, of supporting people with their mental health, their physical health, but also supporting them with the ideas that they come and bring. So it's amazing that to see the holistic approach of the city and its services.
Yeah. It's funny, we didn't talk about at all the fact that I'm a regional counselor as well. So at the City of Mississauga, counselors are regional counselors. And this work, all we've been talking about today, is really at the regional table, like human services. So I'm the chair of the human services thing. So that's where we talk about, housing, poverty, mental health, childcare, those sort of things. So that whole community safety and well-being framework is a 10-year framework that we're working on at the regional level. So the tenets that we're leaning into right now are mental health and addictions, intimate partner violence, and homelessness. Those are like the three big, that we're working on. And one of the key things that they're starting to look at now, which sounds pretty basic for us, but it's difficult when you think about the different institutions, is multi-sector data. So someone goes into right? And then you have their file, and then they have an unfortunate situation with intimate partner violence. Then they have to go and share their story there. Right. And then you discover that they have an addiction, and then they go to an appeal addiction thing, and then they have to share their story again. Yeah. You're re-traumatizing them every time they go into somewhere else. Like, why can't we share their data? Why can't their data follow them? So it's like, okay, they're coming this way. We'll have these wraparound services ready for them here. It moves them further along in their journey a lot faster. So that's something that at the regional table that we're looking at is like, how do we trust each other enough to share that data?
Yeah, that's interesting. I imagine also confidentiality would come into play. Because we're always taught as psychotherapists that the information you collect from clients is in their chart, and their chart is the property of the client. You can't share with anyone unless you get permission, except for certain extreme situations that are exceptions.
So start with permission.
Right? I think if we had a streamlined way to share data with different sectors, it'd make it a lot easier. All we need is just like, give me your permission, and then boom, now the other worker that is supporting you has all your information, has your story, and then you don't have to get re-traumatized again sharing information.
Right.
That'd be great.
We see that happening within the intimate partner violence space, and they have a situation table. And so let's say for your person 238, right? So in the room is like PO Police, and then some like maybe 5 other organizations, 10 or other organizations. And they'll basically say, person 238 is just left their home. They have a child who's 4 years old. They were in human trafficking at one point. They have these mental health. They're just coming off of, and then someone will say, okay, I'll take them because that's what we specialize in. Right. Okay, call me. I'll give you their file. Now you can run with it. So in the room, the situation table, we're not sharing one's data. We're just sharing their situation. And then from there, Justin could put his hand up and say, I'd be more than happy to help them because I have these therapists that are in-house and that sort of thing.
That'd be pretty cool.
Yeah.
Wow, that's great ideas.
Yeah, man.
That's amazing.
Well, that's not my idea. That's already happening. But I think that's I think we need to do that in other sectors, not just in IPV, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Imagine doing that for like marriages.
Yeah, to support people in their marriage, to prevent things like obviously IPV, but also supporting them with even just communication, conflict resolution, trust building, problem solving.
Yeah. This is pretty late in the game, but I could talk about marriage like all day long, man.
Yeah.
Oh, I
love it.
Talking relationships and marriage. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you and I, we have that in common. We're both trained in marriage and family therapy programs.
Yes.
So it's in my opinion, like a special breed of therapist.
Yes.
So I talk about marriage and relationships all the time. Yeah. It's a great topic, and it's like romantic relationships affect so many people,
right?
Even single people who are hoping for something or struggling with dating, and then people who are in long-term relationships, it's a huge part of their life.
Yeah. What do you say to the person who comes in and is like, I want to get married and I can't find anyone, and I'm 44 and I've never been married?
Yeah.
That's their presenting problem.
So that actually happens, unfortunately, more and more common these days. And I think for me, it's I need to approach it holistically. So I need to understand every part of their life to understand what's leading them to not being able to find someone that they want to spend the rest of their life with. It could be that there are certain obstacles in their life that are preventing them from connecting with other people, like they're struggling financially, or maybe there's some accessibility issues. It could also be that maybe they're not exposing themselves to enough single people. sometimes it's also people are a little picky and
Yes.
and they might have very rigid requirements.
Yes.
Sometimes it has to do with identity. It's like, I want someone who fits these very specific intersections of identity, whereas it's hypothetically possible they can fall in love with someone that they didn't imagine themselves fall in love with, but they don't even give that person a chance.
Yes.
I think some people are exhausted with the vast amount of choice. So a lot of times people complain about when you're dating or when you're going on these dating apps, because you know that you can continue swiping and there's going to be an endless supply of other people who are single that you could hypothetically see. It's like, this person I can see right now is great, but like maybe there's someone better. So you're constantly waiting for something better. Whereas back in the day, it's like you go into a room, maybe it's a club or maybe it's a party.
Right.
And then it's like, you know what, that person. I want to give that person, you talk to that person.
Yes.
You don't know anything. You don't have like, a biographical data on who they are. And you're just like, that person seems interesting. And then maybe it works, maybe it doesn't.
Right. But there's a lost art to walking across a crowded room, right?
Yeah, it is a lost art. It is a lot. And it's tough. It's intimidating.
It's intimidating. You got to put your neck in the line, though.
Yeah. I think you do. But I also worry because the younger generation,
Yes.
they aren't exposed to that type of interaction growing up as much as we were maybe back in the day. Because, we didn't have as much smartphone exposure. We weren't staring at screens. We weren't interacting with other people through a screen.
They just have less reps.
They have less reps. Yes, the personal trainer speaking, right? It's a muscle that hasn't had the chance to grow, right?
Yeah.
And I think that like human connection is a dying art, unfortunately. But
how do we like resurrect it?
Yeah, honestly,
how do we resuscitate it?
Like you're the perfect person to talk about this, because my dream, like what I see as a therapist, is people struggling with lack of connection. And that's why our motto for Building Bridges is healing through connection. So I see so many people struggle with lack of connection. And I wish I had the time, resources, position to be able to create more social events for the public, to just come together in person, to connect with one another and like just hang out, do something fun, socialize. I think, Bernie Sanders talked about that too, in how in Vermont they have like these massive barbecues for like the local communities and whatnot.
For sure. I do a lot of those for that very reason, right?
Yeah.
But they're not like mix and mingles and like
exactly
blind date events
right,
and stuff. But
exactly. It's not that, but I think it's exactly the upstream mentality you keep talking about, which is like needs to start young.
Yes.
So I think like for the younger people, there needs to be more emphasis placed on in-person interaction with other kids.
Right.
So, I mean, I know that there's a lot of stuff. There's sports and there's activities and all that. But one thing that's always puzzled me, I'm not a parent, at least not yet. One thing that's always puzzled me is how schools allow phones during class time.
Right.
I'm like when I was a teenager and smartphones were just starting to be a thing, we weren't allowed phones during class at all. We had to keep them in our lockers. So I'm like, how can kids be allowed to have their phones in schools?
Right. I think that you'd have to create a space where, like, to obviously to accommodate them, say like in this block of time there are no phones because this is in. Then you'd have to really prime them for that, because they're so used to having it as a on their person.
I think it would be a big like shift. It'd be really abrupt, and there'd be a lot of resistance, and you'll definitely get the parents who are like, well, I need to contact them in a case of emergency. But it's like, we grew up in schools.
You know where they are.
Yeah, you know where they are. You call the principal's office or whatever. It's fine.
Right. But so going back to the marriage thing for a second.
sorry, we went on a big tangent.
That's a big tangent. But so have you had that aha moment with someone where they're just like, yeah, maybe I should kind of open my horizons, and thanks so much, and see you never, because they found their knight in shining armor and rode off into the sunset?
Sometimes, but getting to the aha moment is tough. So
100%.
It's inviting them to see things in a different way. But as a therapist, we can't simply shouldn't just say, this is what you need to do. You should try this.
Of course.
The idea is to get people to think of that themselves first.
Right.
And that's a dance that takes a long time. And sometimes people don't even get there.
Some people give up before the dance is over.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But you know what? I'm a little bit of a hypocrite, because I met my wife on Tinder.
Oh, for real?
A decade ago. Yeah.
Okay.
A decade ago. So it's
But it's not a hypocrite thing.
It's not.
You know what's actually a hypocrite?
Yeah.
I am this is like my own personal feeling. So I've been remarried. So there was a time when after my marriage dissolved,
Yeah.
and I was like in this funk because I'm like, I'm divorced and I have a degree in marriage and family therapy.
Right. Yeah.
Like there's like a condemning moment. I can laugh about it now, but I'm just like,
I can imagine.
you know, I mean, it's like, take it from me, like do this and you will fail.
Right.
Like, you know, but like,
But now as a remarried man,
Yes.
I imagine that you look at hindsight and then you're like, you know what? It made sense for me to get divorced have that marriage dissolved.
Yeah, I mean, I look at it more from the perspective of now that I'm in this marriage and it's, we're both very intentional with our communication, our prerequisites, as we call it, right? So think about like those people coming into your office and they're like, well, I want it to look like this. I want it to do this. I want to make this amount. Like that, I call those your prerequisites, like those checklists, right?
Yeah.
And then second time around, you're like, well, I'm not having kids with this person. I want to actually travel with this person. I want to have romantic times with this person. I want to laugh with them. I want to actually like them, not just love them and be in this contract, but I actually want to like them, right? So those prerequisites change, like your second vehicle. Like, I mean, you probably chose the options on your Tesla, but you didn't choose the options on your Honda Civic for your first vehicle, right?
That's true. That's true. Yeah.
So,
Toyota Corolla.
There you go. Right. So I think it's like that. So second time around, you have a better sense of who you are.
Yeah.
You're not afraid of its demise because you've been at a place where there's been a demise. So you're not afraid of that either.
Yeah.
And then so you live in such a freer way.
Exactly.
It's such a rich thing.
Yeah.
Like my relationship's awesome. Like
that's
like
great.
Alex and I just have fun. Like I like her. We say I like you probably more than we say I love you.
Yeah, and it's significant because it's
significant.
like I love you might feel like an obligation.
Right.
You're supposed to say, but I like you is like I genuinely appreciate you as a person.
Right.
That's just very special.
Yeah.
And you know, going back to the personal trainer side of you, it's like I always say that being in a relationship is a muscle.
Yes.
And you need to train it, and then you need to train to failure in the sense of like you need to have some failed relationships to learn how you are in a relationship, what you need in a relationship, what other people are like in relationships, what to look for, how to problem solve in relationships. So it's a muscle. Right. So I kind of disagree with the mentality that I know some people have where it's like just, you know, avoid anyone unless if you think you're going to marry that person. And if you approach strangers with, can I marry this person? You're never going to interact. You're going to be
prerequisites.
Like, right? Because that's how do you know if you could?
How do you know?
Right? It's massive.
Yeah.
So I work with some people that have very little experience with relationships, and I feel for them because it's a challenge to dive in because it's probably not going to work the first time, but that's okay.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
You know, there's an interesting layer where our faith ties into it too, because growing up, we grew up in these churches where they'd say like divorce is not an option.
Yeah.
You know, and I heard that so many times. And one time I was watching this interview with a UFC fighter. And Chael Sonnen was talking, and he said, like, you know, people say quitting is not an option. I'm like, and he says, quitting is the most readily available option.
It's true.
It is right there.
Yeah.
And you have to choose not to quit.
Yeah.
And I think in our Christian circles, we have this, like, divorce is not an option. It's like, no. Divorce is a very readily available option, and you have to choose to not get divorced by flexing that muscle every day.
Yeah, exactly.
But I think that sometimes we sit back and, well, since divorce is not an option, I'm not going to try.
Exactly. Yeah.
You know, they can't leave me because we're in this this covenant.
Yeah, exactly.
So they slack on it. They don't flex that muscle, and eventually someone has the courage to leave.
Yeah. I honestly, I'm glad you brought that up because I see that a lot. I work with a lot of people who are also from my church, and you know, I hear stories of people who do exactly that. They're like, you know what, my spouse, there's no divorce in our culture, so you know what, like the trying was before. The trying was to attract the partner, to get them in the beginning. Now that I got them, it's like now I can relax, let myself hang loose.
Fatal move.
Right? Yeah, and then it just deteriorates. And I like to say that, you know, a failure, a relationship failing is not just divorce. There's some people that they're still together, live together, see each other every single day, and it's a failed relationship because they've given up on each other and on the relationship. And it's so sad. And
sad.
I know that, you know, on the topic of kids of divorce, I did my master's theses, both of them on children of divorce. And, you know, I realized that there are some kids of divorce that are doing a lot better than kids whose parents are still together, because the kids of divorce are not exposed to an unhealthy example of a marriage, whereas some kids, their parents are still together, but the parents hate each other.
Powerful.
Right?
That's so true.
Yeah, right. And then it's like there's all this stigma around kids of divorce being like, you know, maybe you shouldn't be with someone whose parents are divorced because they don't know what love is.
Right.
But then you marry someone whose parents are together but miserable and hate each other. There's no love.
There's no intimacy.
And no intimacy.
Right.
They don't know.
Right.
They may not have a good example of love.
Right.
So it's so important to really work on the relationship, and just being together, the label and geographically living together, that's not everything.
Nope.
Yeah. So
Leader without a title.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's good stuff.
That's good stuff, man.
Support, amplify, connect, healing through connection.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
It's all about connection.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's awesome. Connection. That's the answer.
Yes, it is.
That's what we need.
There you go. Solve the world's
AI.
problems.
Exactly.
Nice.
Awesome. Yeah. Thank you so much.
Yeah, it's my
This
pleasure,
was
man.
great.